What do you do when someone you love, a friend, a partner, the spark that once lit up your world, starts to slip away? Do you hold on, even as it hurts, or let go to survive?
You can never replace anyone. What is lost is lost.
In 1975, Pink Floyd faced that question when a stranger walked into their studio. It was Syd Barrett, their lost leader, their muse, a man they once called their soul. This is a story of brilliance undone, of friendship and fracture, and of an album became a eulogy for someone still alive. June 5th, 1975, Abbey Road Studios. Pink Floyd is hunched over the mixing desk, piecing together Shine On You Crazy Diamond, a sprawling, aching tribute to their lost genius. The air's thick with tension, cigarette smoke, and unspoken regrets. Then suddenly, the four members whisper amongst themselves about a mysterious man standing in the distance. It appeared to be a stranger, clutching a plastic bag.
There was this guy standing there in a gabardine raincoat, a large bloke, and I had no idea who it was.
He stares blankly, silent. David Gilmour squints, confused. Roger Waters freezes. Nobody says it out loud, but the truth hits like a gut punch. It's Syd Barrett.
This slim, elegant, if bedraggled and dazed person that I'd last seen had turned rather balloon-shaped and had no eyebrows and not much hair.
Their old friend, their former leader, the man who started it all, Syd Barrett. 7 years gone, and now he's here, a ghost in their studio. Waters later said he cried, and Gilmour admitted he couldn't speak. Syd Barrett was the visionary who birthed Pink Floyd. He left a legacy that haunts rock music to this day, but as Waters later wrote, burned too bright and too quick. While Syd's shocking return in 1975 shook Pink Floyd to their core, let's first rewind to the 1960s when his brilliance set the world ablaze. It's London, 1966. The underground is alive, buzzing with freaks, poets, and dreamers, and at the heart of it is Roger Keith Barrett, Syd to his friends. A 20-year-old art student with a mop of curls, a mischievous grin, and a mind that seemed to see colors nobody else could. Syd wasn't just Pink Floyd's frontman, he was their alchemist.
Part of what was good was the way that he allowed the lyric and the rhythm to attach to one another in a way that was quite both poetic and musical. You know, I've got a bike, you can ride it if you like. It's got a basket that all the rings and things. I'd give it to you if I could, but I borrowed it. There's something about the way the lyric attaches to the meter in a very satisfying way.
Jug Band Blues from 1967, the last song Syd wrote for Pink Floyd, feels like a confession.
And I'm most obliged to you for making it clear that I'm not here.
Bandmate Roger Waters called him a pioneer, a guy who didn't just write songs, but built worlds. While Syd's songwriting painted vivid worlds, his guitar playing smashed through musical boundaries, redefining rock itself. He didn't play like anyone else. Feedback, distortion, echo, he treated his Telecaster like a paintbrush, smearing sound across the canvas. He was punk before punk, krautrock before krautrock. Jimi Hendrix worshipped him, and that's not hyperbole. Syd Barrett was truly a rock pioneer. While Syd's groundbreaking guitar work set the stage on fire, that same fiery genius began to consume him, pulling him into darkness. By 1967, LSD was flowing, and Syd was diving deep. Too deep, in fact. The guy who once lit up rooms started to fade. On stage, he'd stand motionless, strumming a single note for entire shows. Off stage, he'd ramble about UFOs or lock himself in his flat, painting over windows to block the world.
Syd and I were walking down the street, and we stopped at the traffic light in Los Angeles. And he looked at me and smiled, and he said, "It's nice here in Las Vegas, isn't it?" Well, we were in LA. So he already had no idea where he was.
The band tried to keep up, but Syd was writing songs like Have You Got It Yet?, a prank where he changed the chords every time they rehearsed. Was it genius or chaos? Whatever it was clear to the rest of the group that it was getting worse.
But I'm still convinced that he took a huge overdose of acid and destroyed his brain cells. He went to see Ronnie Lang, and he said there's nothing we can do for him. You know, physically, the brain is actually being destroyed. So, very sad.
Roger Waters firmly identifies Barrett's condition as schizophrenia, explaining how his drug use worsened his mental health symptoms.
Marijuana, to a certain extent, and acid to a large extent, can do nothing but exacerbate that collection of symptoms that we put together and loosely describe as schizophrenia. There is no doubt those things are very bad for schizophrenics. They worsen the condition. There is no doubt that Syd was schizophrenic and that he was taking those drugs at the same time.
Syd was a mystery, even to himself. By 1968, Pink Floyd had to make a choice: save their friend or save the band. And they chose the band. David Gilmour, Syd's old mate, stepped in. Syd was out. Syd cut 2 solo albums after, The Madcap Laughs and Barrett, Raw, Fragile, and Brilliant, but by 1970, he was done with music, retreating to Cambridge, painting, gardening, and hiding from the world he'd once set on fire. Time moved on, and so did Pink Floyd. A couple years later, they'd make one of the best-selling albums of all time in Dark Side of the Moon. But as the 70s continued, even as the band climbed to new heights, the shadow of Syd Barrett still lingered, impossible to outrun. By the time Pink Floyd entered Abbey Road studios in 1975, they were at a loss, not for success, but for purpose. The pressure to follow up a cultural phenomenon was crushing, so as they sat down to write new music again, the question loomed, what do they want to say? What they kept circling back to, consciously or not, was this feeling of loss and disillusionment. They missed their old friend Syd. In the process, a haunting 4-note guitar riff emerged. It seemed to exemplify everything the band was feeling at the moment, particularly for Roger Waters. Shine On You Crazy Diamond was born.
I don't know where it came from. As I say, I might have been just playing an A minor chord and just moved my fingers to the wrong position. It could just be an accident, but...
In the aftermath of the enormous success of Dark Side of the Moon, that in a way I sort of knew that really we were over as far as the Band of Brothers notion of a pop group was concerned. And so I was mourning that loss as well as the loss of Syd as a friend and as a colleague.
Remember when you were young, you shone like the sun.
And when I'm singing Shine On, Syd's right there all the time, obviously, because, the song is just absolutely about him.
Shine On You Crazy Diamond, a 20-minute 9-part suite, is the centerpiece of the Wish You Were Here album. It's both a love letter and a eulogy. Roger's lyrics are dripping with guilt and longing.
Come on, you target for faraway laughter. Come on, you stranger, you legend, you martyr, and shine.
While Shine On You Crazy Diamond served as a direct tribute to Syd, the emotional undercurrent of loss didn't end there on the album. That same ache, that feeling of disconnection, bled into the album's title track.
David Gilmour had been playing the riff. I said, so do you mind if I see what happens next? And so I played a few chords and wrote the song very, very quickly. It was when we were making the record Wish You Were Here, which was all about absence, and it was to some extent about the loss of Syd Barrett. I don't know, we're just 2 lost souls swimming in a fishbowl.
We're just 2 lost souls swimming in a fishbowl.
Waters' poetic lyrics describe his feelings of disillusionment with the music industry at the time, the temptation of compromising authenticity for safety and control.
did they get you to trade your heroes for ghosts, hot ashes for trees, hot air for a cool breeze?
But through the lens of Syd, maybe Roger was reflecting on his friend's transformation in the late 60s, from being the frontman of an up-and-coming band pushing artistic limits to being imprisoned by mental illness.
Did you exchange a walk-on part in the war for a lead role in a cage?
Waters says the song is about being present, but Gilmour admits he can't sing it without seeing Syd's face. After months of painstaking work, Pink Floyd finally neared the ending of recording Wish You Were Here. The album, born out of reflection and grief, had been emotionally exhausting. But as they were wrapping up the mixing process, like it was scripted in a movie, the very person who had haunted the record from the start appeared. Like a specter from their past, completely unannounced, Syd walked into that recording studio that day in June. It was as if the music had called out to him, as Pink Floyd were mixing the very song they penned as tribute to their lost bandleader, Shine On, You Crazy Diamond.
We just sort of stood there, sat there and just sort of shell-shocked, basically. And then until somebody thought of something to say to them.
And then we were all unbelievably shocked at his appearance.
I mean, I didn't know it was him. But it was pretty affecting, really. I mean, Roger and Dave cried.
Waters recalled Syd's blank stare, a painful reminder of the friend they'd lost. It was a moment that crystallized the album's theme, absence, not just of Syd, but of their own creative spark.
Now there's a look in your eyes, like black holes in the sky.
It describes how I experienced his disintegration. And it describes as well the great desire I had then and still have now, and the passion I have to celebrate him and his talent and his humanity, and to express the love that I have for him.
Syd listened to Shine On that day in the studio. As the final notes rang out, he simply nodded and said it sounded a bit old. The band was gutted, and it was the last time most of them ever saw him. While Wish You Were Here immortalized Syd's impact, his influence stretched far beyond Pink Floyd, reshaping music forever. He passed away in 2006, quietly away from the spotlight, but his shadow looms large.
There was something slightly not quite with us about Syd that really appealed to me strongly. There was a Peter Pan quality about him.
His psychedelic blueprints inspired David Bowie, who covered See Emily Play and called Syd the spark of British rock. The Flaming Lips echoed his whimsy, while Radiohead's experimental edge owes a debt to Syd's chaos. Pink Floyd kept his spirit alive. The Wall's isolation and the Final Cut's pain carry Syd's echoes.
It was a great loss. Imagining what he would have gone on to do is, he could have become so great.
Fans still flock to his solo albums, the Madcap Laughs and Barrett, raw gems that capture his fragile genius. He didn't just start Pink Floyd, he rewrote rock's rules. Whimsical, fearless, untamed. Syd Barrett was a comet, blazing, brilliant, and gone too soon. He gave Pink Floyd their soul, crafting psychedelic worlds that still echo through time. His fall broke hearts, but from that absence came Wish You Were Here, a masterpiece of loss and love. From London's underground to Abbey Road's haunted studio, Syd's story is one of genius, touched by pain and fragility. Pink Floyd became legends, but Syd was always their spirit. He may be gone, but every time you hear that 4-note riff, he's there. And somewhere in the cosmos, he's still painting with sound. Shine on, Syd.
Shine.